Hey YouTube, Natchez 860. Smoking Clark's favorite with some burley ribbon cut on a beautiful Saturday morning. Chapter 9, Work History. I'm at the big Life Care complex in Massachusetts, just doing a little follow-up. When we first got this contract, Larry says to me, "You know why we got this contract, don't you?" I said, "No." The town that this place was located in was very affluent, Boston suburb. Everybody lived in a huge house. The houses were, your next door neighbor was probably 2 miles away. Lots of money. No public transportation. Reason we got the contract is the people who were running it didn't know how they were going to staff it. They actually contracted out the food service as well as the housekeeping. Had enough trouble just trying to hire maintenance and nursing staff and other support staff. Said to Larry, "How are we going to staff the place?" He says, "I already got it all figured out. Leave it to Larry." We had a connection with the Portuguese community in Boston. Portuguese people love to work. They're workaholics. He said, "I'm going to go out and buy a 13-passenger van. We're going to ship everybody in from Boston every day." That's how we got around it. Worked out really well. Of course, the only problem was most of the employees didn't speak English. But we had a couple of interpreters, so it wasn't all that difficult. Way back when I was doing startups, Larry would occasionally talk to me about how things were going and what his plans were going forward. And he'd always talk about taking the company into other states. And at one point, I mentioned to him there was nothing keeping me in Massachusetts, that I'd be interested in relocating whenever the time came. So while I was at this Life Care Village, of course the company had grown triple-fold, and we had started operations in Rhode Island. We were running that state from Massachusetts. He hired a guy for New Jersey. So he was already doing the marketing and trying to get things going there. Larry came into the Life Care Village one day and told me that He had rented an office in Connecticut, had an answering service, and if I wanted it, I could have it. So I agreed. He says, well, the problem now is getting you out of here. Luckily, I had a guy who was my assistant that everybody liked, and he knew what he was doing. He could easily take over. So it was September of 1983. Larry said to me, come 84, I want you to think about moving to Connecticut. He says, you don't have to do anything now, but just keep it in the back of your mind. So I said, okay. We had everything running smooth at this point. Not a big deal. So December of 83 comes along. Larry calls me into the office. He says, I think things are in place now. You can move down to Connecticut. It's like, wait a minute, 84 is not even here yet. He says, plan on being down there the first of the year. This is the beginning of December, I said, okay. So it was the day after our Christmas party. Oh, I had a really bad hangover. Drove down here to the office, which is about a mile from here. And first apartment complex I came to, went in and I grabbed a lease. And wasn't really sure if I wanted lunch or if it was going to make my hangover worse or what. I was pretty messed up. Went out to Friendly's. Tried to put down a grilled cheese sandwich and a Coke while I filled out the lease agreement. And that was the end of that. I was all set up for moving down the first week of January. And Larry said to me that he'd be sending me financial statements every month. He says, I don't want you to flip out because every month you're going to see that there's a loss because we don't have any accounts yet. He says, don't be surprised if, within 6 months you're behind the 8 ball like 20 grand. I said, okay. So I got myself all set up in Connecticut. And in the next video, we'll pick up from the first couple of months, which turned out to not be as quiet as I thought they would be. Thanks an awful lot for joining me. Catch you in the next video.